Hello and welcome back. I'm Lincoln, and today is the weekly bonus video. And this one I made the scene using the Fireplace, and I added all the previous week's sculpts in there. All right, I'm going to put up the rest of the prompt list now. This concludes the last full week of October 3D, so we can make a full scene. I hope you guys have enjoyed this sculpting challenge. We only have 3 left. All right, let's grab your iPad or other device, and let's go make a fireplace in a haunted house. All right, so first thing we're gonna do is come in here and make sure we get everything set up right, and that looks pretty good. We got the wall, the mantle top, both boxes, and we can rename these. Just gonna name those pillars, I think. I'm not sure what else there would be. Just keep everything straight. It's just so much easier so you don't get lost. All right, now I'm going to show you a trick when you go to cut something. If we cut this out, so what we're going to do is I'm going to go ahead and put a bigger box in behind here first. So we're going to do add a box. So what we'll do is turn off everything else so it's not distracting you in the way. So we'll turn all those off. Okay, so this one we'll leave as is. I'm going to clone one, bring it out. And what we'll do is get to the top. Now we could shrink it, but then it's going to do a whole thing. So what we're going to do is just use the line tool on symmetry and just chop this, and then we'll shrink the whole thing at once. So we'll leave this one at it's at. We can validate this one. We'll use the line tool for the trim, and we'll turn symmetry on, and we'll cut and see where we're at. And that looks good, except symmetry is kind of weird. So let's go back to the top. I must not have been snapped to a view. So we'll try that again. Oh, and we need to turn off perspective, being orthographic, and that way it'll cut true and straight for you. So trim, we're back in line, symmetry, and just kind of pick right there. There we go. Now we have a nice clean cut. Now this one, because our wire's all messy, we need to come up here and remesh it, and let's go ahead and around 500. And it doesn't matter if the sides are too square right now. I'm gonna go and shrink this down. And we don't need to shrink it equally. So I think what we'll do is we'll just shrink this down this way, because we need to have a little bit poking around on 3 sides. And it depends on how deep you want your fireplace. We're going to bring this in just a little bit. Actually, we'll just leave it out. And let's bring this in. And you'll notice I have the line on our, we have the line tool on here. If you come up here to your gear icon and click outline, makes it a lot easier when we go to hollow something out, if you can see what's going on. So that looks pretty good. And I think I'm going to come up just a little bit. That way we can have a little floor in there. So let's go ahead and just kind of work this until I got what I'm looking for. And that looks pretty good. And I want to shrink it widthwise a little bit because that's a little too much. So we'll shrink this a little, like here. And that looks good. Oops, save function screwed me up. All right, so that looks pretty good. I like the way that looks. Now the cool thing, click on this one. We can go and validate this one now. Come up here and let's run it up to 500 or so and remesh it. And it doesn't matter about keeping edges sharp. All right, so let's go ahead and turn that one off, the fireplace off. This one we'll just name cut. And this is not terribly necessary, but just so you can keep it straight and don't get confused. So we're going to turn that one off. We're going to select this one by itself, turn off the wire. Now what we're going to do is use the stamp tool. I'm going to come up here, and I have a nice brick stamp. And if we come in here, we can grab the texture. I'm going to grab the same texture. Make sure you're all the way on white. And it doesn't look white, and if you're always wondering about that, it's because I have this environment on. If we change to a different one, you'll change colors. But I like this one because it's a little bit easier to see your shadows on. Okay, so now what we can do is use the stamp tool. Let's see where we're at. That looks pretty good. But we need to be inverted. So let's go to sub. I'm going to turn off symmetry and invert our pattern. And that looks good. And we'll come over here and do one on this side. Now what we have to do is mask off so we're good on everything. So let's come up here, and it doesn't matter which side you do. We're going to grab the select mask, and what you can do is just come down and just mask that line, just past that line right there. All right, and we're going to click on the outside to switch the mask. Go back to your stamp tool. Let's stamp this one. All right, so that looks good. All right, so now what we'll do is come up to this side. We're going to go back to mask, drag a mask, come back down, and just grab that top again. Split the mask. Now, if you don't want to do that, it's all in here too. You can invert, sharpen, blur, and clear all your mask right here, but these are all the shortcuts out here with the pencil. Okay, so we got that. Let's go back to the stamp, pull this one. Okay, so now we have brick on all of them. The last one we need to do is the one at the back. So let's click on here, tap, go back to mask, pull your mask, just grab it, reverse your mask, stamp, and pull this. And that one will be a little messy, but that's okay. All right. So now what we'll do is you can come back up here. We need to clear the mask first. Come back up here and we can turn on the fireplace and turn off the cut, turn on the fireplace. Now when we cut this, what's going to happen is that texture is going to be transferred to the fireplace. So when we come in here, we'll voxel merge, and you want to be at least 500. On this one, we can keep edges sharp if you want. Merge, and it's going to take a second because that's got a lot to think about right now. And this amount that you go to always depends on your machine. Okay, so what you're going to notice is you have this all stamped out nice and clean now, which is pretty nice. All right, we can come back in here and turn these all on. Now I didn't have the paint set right in here, but I'm not going to worry about it too much. We'll just do kind of a brown and call it good. And you can always use the your paint setting for that without texture and just paint. So what I'm going to do is grab just another box. We're going to just add another box in here. And I'm going to use this just to cut out the fireplace. So we'll do that right there. And that looks pretty good. I think what I'll do is we need to stretch that up a little bit. Okay, so it needs to be right in there. And we'll call that good. So I'm going to cut that out. We'll turn that off. Select the wall, voxel merge, and we're going to come up pretty high. Keep edges sharp and merge. Now we should have a hole. We can slide our whoops, not that one. Grab this one. Slide the fireplace in. It's just a matter of getting the view so you can see where you're at. And it does make it a little bit harder sometimes having the outline on. Alright, so for that I'm just going to suck it up a little bit there. That'll be fine. Just needs to go further back, right to the wall. And that looks good right there. So that's pretty cool. So what we're going to do is solo and just pull some stamp on the edges so it looks like it's stone, and we'll go from there. So I'll be back in just a second. Okay, so instead of taking off, what I need to do is show you, so we'll come in here, we're going to grab the bottom, we're going to grab the select mask, we need to go in and make sure that it's not front facing vertex only, so it should grab everything that we want to stamp. Let's grab the gizmo and make sure. So everything is dark. We want to make sure the inside is dark too. Now I can grab the stamp tool and just kind of start pulling everything out on the top. And I'm going to turn off symmetry. And we're going to turn off sub. So we need our stamp to be out. And this one will be a little bit harder. We need to shrink this down quite a bit because we're going to have to pull pretty far across. And you don't necessarily have to have all the block, you know, perfectly line up. It would be better, but it doesn't have to. It's decent on that side. It's a little off over there. And if you're really terribly concerned about it, you can mask off, so you're only stamping here and here and here and here. I'm not going to worry about it. I'm just going to blend it in a little bit and call it good. So what we'll do is grab the flatten brush, select mask, let's clear the mask, grab the flatten brush, and I'm just going to go through and kind of touch this up a little bit, and now I'll be back. All right, now I'm back. I'm going to paint this all kind of just a darker, well, like a medium brown, I guess. Because then we can pull some soot into the back. So we'll paint all. I'll kind of darken everything up. And then I'm going to grab the paint. Let's go to a black. But then we're going to go rough, so it's kind of a rough sooty thing. We'll go to paint, and what I'm going to do is turn this back to white so it's not pulling anything crazy. And over here, we're just going to go to a white, so it's just a flat black. And now we can pull texture. And it's kind of nice because we're on the grab dynamic radius. Instead of dot, dot, you're going to have to paint it all. The grab dynamic radius is kind of nice because you can pull some surfaces in here, and it kind of makes a nice fading edge for you. And you'll have to turn it a few times because you see the texture, it is like facing dependent. So if we come in here, we can turn off front facing vertex only for this, and that will stop doing that for you. So that's one way to fix that. Now if you don't want the intensity quite so high, and you can see there it's painting on the back side, but for this it's not going to matter really. So now we can bring the intensity way down, and you'll see it'll be a little too soft, but you can feather your edges out a little bit, and it's a nice way to get a nice soft edge on something without having to be sitting there trying to use the erase and paint tool and just kind of feather the edge in. And I'm just going to feather it from here kind of to the corner like this. So I will be back. All right, so now when we turn off solo, now we have a nice fireplace in there, and I'm going to bring it down because I want the fireplace to be more or less level with the floor. I'll kind of bring it down like that, and that should look pretty good. And I like that. And we'll just bring one little box just to kind of place everything in. So let's add one more. box, and I'm going to go ahead and name this one Floor. Just going to bring it up just like that, so the brick is, there's a little step to the brick. That's all I want, right? Just like that. All right, next we're going to stamp a texture on the floor, so let's grab the stamp tool. I come in and change some things, so obviously I don't want that. I want to do a wood texture, I think, and I've got one down here. Like I said, once again, you can go find some textures pretty easily on those websites I have linked down below. Now on the texture, I'm going to make sure that I have two wood textures in here. So I've got one that you can see the texture is going left to right, and one's going vertical. So you want it to match the texture you have. So my texture is going vertical on this one. You want these two alphas to match, because you can rotate this, but then this rotates with it, so it will never match properly. So you need those to match. All right, so then we've got that set. Let's tile it a little bit, maybe just a little. Repeat and repeat again, and I've got the preset on the Catmull ROM as one dot there. Grab dynamic radius and the paint. You can see the texture there, and it's going the right direction. And the paint intensity, you know, somewhere in there should be about right. So let's pull a stamp and see. Yeah, that looks good. So it depends. I mean, there's some texture in there, but you're not going to see it as much. I'm going to leave it kind of rough like that. It's fine. The only thing I don't like is that those two, you know, all four of those spots kind of look the same. It's hard to get it where it's not going to repeat a pattern too much, just because you have it tiled. And you can try pulling another one beside, but you're going to end up having the same thing. So you can come up here and knock the tiling down to just one, and then you can pull, and then pull from different spots, and your texture will come out different. And with this, it's probably not going to matter too much if you see the texture or not. So we'll just do it that way. I just want some different colors. Now, I do have some issues with the stamp being really hard. You see the edges on the sides. So you can come up here, do the fall off, do the same thing we did before, and just do the little edge on there, and then we can pull this, and it'll fade into one another, and you'll never notice. So, and you don't have to pull all of it, just enough to change the texture up. And you can change direction too by pulling a different direction. And now the floor looks different. If you want to actually put some wood texture in, that's fine. All right, so for this, I think what I'm going to do is just put just a quick coat of paint, just black on all this. So I'll be back. I'm just going to mask and paint parts. Okay, so now seeing how you mask it off, and I left some of the texture up so you can see you have some texture in the wood now. So I'm just going to leave that. It looks really good. Now that's one way of getting down below and getting texture if you mask off separately like that. Last thing I'm going to do is bring all our things in. So I'll bring in the enchanted mirror first just so you can kind of see how it works if you've never done this before. So we'll come up to the enchanted mirror and add it to the scene. Yes. Now if you come in here, you're going to see all of this is one thing. So what I'm going to do is come up to the add button and add a group. And that will group all those together for you. Because if you don't, you see it's a little bit harder to find. And you can just rename this group mirror. Makes it a lot easier to organize. That's one of the new things in the menu. It's just pretty nice. Okay, so let's place this one. So we should have, you open it up, everything's selected. So we'll come up and bring it up to the wall. Now you'll notice here, when you bring something in like this, that the lighting may be a little crazy or weird, and sometimes, I've just gone through and just deleted the all of the lighting effects and just started over, but we might be able to get away with this one if we mess with it a little bit. So we'll just put the mirror on the wall, and that looks pretty good. But you can see it's putting a lot of light on that, so if we look at the lighting situation for that, I'm going to see, I'm just going to turn everything off, just figure out which one is doing most of that. So it's this one right here. So we can go to this light and just turn the intensity down probably and just be good with that for now. And that'll work for now. It still has a little bit of a glow, and we can adjust it later. But that looks pretty good. All right, so I'm going to add everything else in the scene, and I'll be back. All right, so I'm going to add a couple lights, and we will start giving this a little effect to it. So I got the spider web over there, put this spider web in. I didn't worry about putting a grill or a grate or anything. I thought this would be fun just to use what we've already made instead of adding more stuff. So I'm going to have light up the spider and the beetle. So let's come up here and come down to the bottom. We'll just add a light. And I'm going to add a spotlight. And we've got to get it out here and rotate it around. So you can just grab the green dot and drag it. Sometimes that's just easier. I kind of want to light the beetle and the spider both, I think. Now my iPad's acting really slow because I didn't decimate anything. I'm just trying to finish up the video, so it would definitely help if I decimated. Bring a little more orange to it maybe. Nice bright orange. Now here we're just going to bring the intensity up and get some color. And I'm going to bring it back a little bit, maybe cast a little bit of a shadow with a beetle. So it'll kind of bring it into, there we go, like that. Looks pretty good. Gonna light up the spider, make it the focus. All right, now, next thing, I think I'll just turn the environment off. It'll help everything so we can kind of see what we need to light. And this light, now it's kind of cool. You can kind of get into all these different lights different ways. So you can go all the way over to the menu, or if you know that I know that that green light is in here, I can just tap on there, bring the intensity up, and that's okay. It'll make kind of a yellow web. Bring the intensity up and we'll kind of light that. And I'm going to add one more light, and that's pretty much the max. You'll see right here when you have 4 lights, you can't add any more. Just FYI, so if you're putting a lot of things in with a lot of different effects, you have to kind of figure out different things you're going to do because you can only do so many and you're done. So, still incredibly powerful. You can't argue with it, that's for sure. Alright, I'm going to bring this over. maybe. Like I said, I should have decimated a few things because it's really sluggish right now. And this is real time. It's pretty grumpy with me because I'm at 22.5 million vertices in the scene, so I'm getting up there for being maxed out. So what I want to do is just kind of bring this intensity up, and then we're just going to change the color and do the cinematic blue-orange look. Maybe not quite that dark. And I think I will call that good right there. And I could play with a little bit more and get the lighting a little bit nicer with the mirror, but I think that's pretty good. Alright, if you guys are enjoying these videos, please like and subscribe, and I will see you next time. Alright, thanks.